Stugotz here for Hotel Tonight. Guys, I know you don't like planning things to do, but your lady will be happy if you set up date night and book a room with Hotel Tonight. Trust me, I have the app. It's fantastic, and it's only an app, not a website. It's just an app. Hotel Tonight partners with great hotels to get you incredible deals for tonight, tomorrow, and beyond. That's right. Don't be fooled by the name. It's not just for tonight. You got to get this app, guys. You can wait until the last minute and still score a crazy good deal at a super cool hotel, or you can actually book in advance if you're more of a planner. It's an app only, which means it's really easy to use, and you can book a room in like 10 seconds. Seriously, time yourself. Do it. I've done it. You'll be amazed at how quick and easy it is to use. They've got little profiles of each hotel with a fun summary of all the info you need to know and pictures of what the rooms really look like. And they also have a cool HD perks program where the more you book, the better the deals get, and it's not like other loyalty programs where you're trapped into staying at boring chain hotels. So download the Hotel Tonight app today and start booking better deals at better hotels now. Something better just came along. Hotel Tonight.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Mina Kimes in with us, ESPN The Magazine senior writer, super informed, much more informed than anyone around here about sports details, and furthermore, we'll fake her way through it if they're movie details. If the NFL wants to be a moral authority on something, I suggest that instead of crimes, they go opioids. Like, given that Brett Favre just came out and decided, in one of the strangest goodbye columns you'll ever see, Peter King just broke the news in there while thanking people for his career at Sports Illustrated, just broke the news that Brett Favre had been to rehab 3 times during his career and was taking 14 Valium a day, or did one time take 14 Valium in a sitting.
Right.
His MVP season.
Mm-hmm. Wait, this was part of Peter King's goodbye?
And that's where I read it. I read it, and then I saw the news programs discussing it at the same time.
I think in his goodbye, he recalled fondly a weekend or something they had together, and Brett Favre came out and said, "Actually, I had just taken 14 or whatever." So he was commenting on that weekend. But I mean, was anyone surprised by any of these?
But it's not the surprise. One of the parts that I found interesting is the idea the NFL has proclaimed itself this moral authority on an area where it's in over its head, crime, and more specifically the subset of domestic abuse. Here is an area where they'd have actual expertise, and America's got an opioid crisis.
Right.
Go be a moral authority there if you want. You've actually got some expertise with this one.
It's a winning issue. But it's an issue that maybe they don't want to tackle head on, because to confront it would mean having to come up with solutions like, marijuana legalization or whatever that the NFL's not ready to approach.
But you can't tackle that one if you're afraid. You cannot tackle opioid problems if you're terrified of even marijuana. If your commissioner is going on, I guess what was then Mike and Mike, and saying, look, we don't condone marijuana use because smoking's bad for you. Like, smoking's bad for your insides.
Putting things in your lungs, smoke in your lungs is not a good thing.
Yeah, putting football in your life is not a good thing.
Yes.
I think the opioid issue also opens up a can of worms with litigation, because it's so entangled with the NFL doctors who were, as you remember from the lawsuit, handing them out like Tic Tacs, handing out these pain pills. So for the NFL to be honest that many players have an issue with that many players historically have abused painkillers also means we were complicit in that abuse. They don't want to do that.
We have to thank the Houston Rockets, right?
Oh, yes. Close basketball game. And we got a meaningful Game 5 coming up next. Yes. Thank you, Rockets.
They gave us doubt. That's all you wanted. You wanted to doubt the Warriors. And really, it is strange to say, because yesterday's takes that were rendered pretty moot in an evening by many of you who are willing to take not just a 1-game sample, but a 1-quarter sample, because the difference between that being 3-1 and you guys still saying that the Warriors ruined basketball is a quarter of bad basketball.
Yep.
The Golden State Warriors played their worst quarter at the worst possible time. The worst quarter of their season, empirically,
yes.
Where none of their guys can make a shot. And so which take from yesterday sounds more stupid? Me saying the Warriors are the best team ever, or you saying the Warriors ruined basketball?
You saying the Warriors are the best team ever. Because they're not.
Mina?
Because the Warriors could still ruin basketball. Like, if they blow out the Rockets here in Game 5 and then, win Game 6, they've ruined basketball.
Okay, well, let me pose a hypothetical to you. Warriors close us out in 6, then sweep the Cavs or Celtics. Have the Warriors ruin basketball? I think yes.
You're very pleased with yourself, aren't you?
We had an entire show in your absence, like the cat's away, the mice will play, where we literally just complained about the Warriors for 3 hours.
But if the Warriors do that, then Dan might still be right on the Warriors are the best team ever. So, but for right now, at this very moment, Dan, your comment yesterday, the more embarrassing one.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. What's the dumber take from yesterday? Dan's take that the Warriors are the best team ever, or Stugotz's take that the Warriors have ruined basketball? You can't be, again, I don't think you can make assessments. If you can't make assessments on one game samples, I don't think you can make them on one quarter samples. There hasn't been a greater outlier this season than the fourth quarter the Warriors put up yesterday. They are, as a franchise, 47-0 when they have a fourth quarter lead of double digits. As a franchise in the playoffs, that's the first time they've ever lost. They had the longest home streak, not only the longest home streak in the history of the postseason, 16 games, they were winning those home games by an average of 17 points per game. And yesterday, in the fourth quarter, they totally fell apart, not only after starting the game 12-0 when you were probably thinking to yourself, they've ruined basketball.
I was thinking that, yep.
And then Steph Curry gives you the shimmy-shaking third quarter.
Yep, and I was thinking they were ruining basketball.
He gives you the quarter where he's shooting from further and further out. You know he's going to take the shots, and he's making the shots. And the Rockets withstood all of it.
Yep, they saved basketball.
They saved basketball. Is that the new?
Yeah, for now.
Chris Paul saved basketball.
Do it again. And when you're done doing it again, do it again. Because the beginning of that game, for me, the biggest part of that game for the Rockets was Chris Paul was so lousy in the first quarter. All of them were. They were nervous, and James Harden by himself kept them in that game.
Nervous?
He was a nervous wreck.
So Chris Paul was nervous in the first quarter, but not the fourth?
Oh, the fourth, he was fine. I mean, he was great.
Do you think this was more the Rockets being great and playing great defense at the end, or do you think Kerr was right when he said the Warriors were just gas? Because they had the shortened rotation with Iguodala out, all of their stars were playing an unusual amount of minutes. Like, do you think that was the bigger contributor to the meltdown?
I think they missed shots. That's it. It's weird. It's weird to have those four guys on your team and only put up 12 points in a quarter.
They missed shots, but also Iguodala's absent. I mean, Houston scored all they wanted on Bell and Looney. Like they did. When they were going up against Bell, go look at the numbers. They shot like 70% against Bell and Looney, and that's not what they do against Iguodala. One of the many things that makes the Warriors special is that if Iguodala is your fifth best player, you're all-time great. You're an all-time great team if Andre Iguodala is your fifth best player. The Lakers won a championship with Lamar Odom as their third or fourth best player.
Right.
Like, if you can have Andre Iguodala, like, he matters, but he shouldn't matter enough. They just missed a bunch of shots in the fourth quarter. And then the disaster of all disasters. To me, this was the interesting part of that game. When that team came together, the only real question you had is, well, who's going to take those important shots late in the game? And then they never have any important shots late in the game because they're always up by so much that it never matters. And yesterday you saw no timeouts, go down the court, and I don't know what the hell that was. I cannot think of a worse shot that they could have gotten in a pressure situation than Klay Thompson just helicoptering around and throwing the ball out of, launching the ball out his butt and not coming anywhere near the basket.
It's a weird thing, the end of game situations, because you're right. We're just not used to seeing the Warriors in that situation. You wonder, I don't think it's a coaching thing, but I think it's more that the players aren't, like, maybe they don't know what to do, like, when it's a game at the end. Like, how many great Warriors games do you even remember coming down to the final seconds with them having to make those decisions? It's not something we associate with the team in the way we now associate with, say, Boston in their career.
I couldn't believe Durant gave up the ball.
Could not believe it. Didn't take a shot in the final 3 minutes and 40 seconds of that game. That's incredible, man.
But if I tell you, let's rewind for a second. And I tell you guys, here we go. 10 seconds left, and I don't care whether Kirk calls a timeout or not. 10 seconds left. Durant's got the ball, and he's bringing it up the court. what happens next. It can't be Klay Thompson doing pirouettes in the corner, trying to create off the dribble, which is what he was like. I don't even understand. That is, in terms of collapses of incompetence, that was terrible math from the team that has changed the math in the sport. Just, it can't be Klay Thompson dribbling around.
Right. After Kevin Durant has passed up a pretty open
Klay
look.
Thompson dribbling around with his back to the basket.
It's bizarre. Durant's been such a killer in this series. He's been a killer on his own.
No, but that's the frustrating thing is because this team, I believe Kevin Durant is that guy. He's the solution. He's the guy that can get his shot off whenever he wants. Steph Curry cannot. He can, and he can get it in the paint. And in a half-court situation, you would expect Kevin Durant to be the go-to guy, and he wanted nothing to do with it last night. Nothing to do with it last night.
I find fascinating. He wanted the ball back as soon as he gave it to Klay.
Well, don't give it up. If you want it back, don't give it up.
All right.
Okay?
All right.
I mean, please. I mean, he took the easy path. How easy did he want it to be? I mean, you're asked to take one big shot a season, and you can't take the big shot? You pass it off to Klay Thompson? Give me a break.
You are in such a winning position on this because when Chris Paul wins, do it again, and you blast Kevin Durant. When Kevin Durant wins, you just blast Chris Paul.
Yeah. I feel like at some point I have to run into a dead end here, right?
I don't know. You're going to run out of guys.
Yeah,
Whose side are you on?
opinion. I don't know.
Like, pick a guy.
I've been waiting for 14 years for you to run into a dead end, and all you do is keep climbing.
Important lesson, Mina. There's always another guy.
To blame.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS Consumer Access.org number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
There are some legitimately meaty race stories out there.
Stugotz.
Great.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Mina Kimes, ESPN, the magazine's senior writer, with us today. If you folks in the audience are not familiar with Stugotz's work, one of the key tools in his toolbox is to get to sick and tired of X before the rest of people do. So as soon as Kevin Durant got to the Warriors, he was sick and tired of all things Warriors. And gradually, over time, when they become Draymond Green as the emotional leader, and Draymond can be unlikable and can be a bit of a bully, and you got Kevin Durant not being graceful about how he wins, being a bit defiant about it in ways that tend to bother sports fans. I wonder last night if people enjoyed the humbling. That you're shimmying at home and then you don't do anything in the fourth quarter, Steph. And so now we're asking again, hey, were you healthy in the third and then unhealthy when it mattered in the fourth?
And he was definitely hurt on that final shot.
And Draymond Green is getting dunked on by James Harden and then doing the signature Draymond Green move, second signature. The signature is kicking people in the groin. The second signature move is to knock a guy down and then pretend you're trying to hold him up. Like that, Draymond is good at that one. He has perfected knocking a guy down and, whoa, I'm just trying to help you.
Also got blocked by the rim last night.
Oh, did you see the face he made when he got blocked by the rim? It was kind of like...
He played so well,
Great,
though. I've
yeah.
grown to appreciate Draymond Green's game, man. I mean, he's incredible. Last night, I mean, near triple-double. He's so good. Does the little things. Those guys just weren't hitting their shots.
Well, he was not good last night.
Yeah, wait, you're blasting all of these guys, but Draymond is where you draw the line.
Yeah, because you know what? Everyone kind of, if there's a guy to pick on that team, it's Draymond Green. And so since everyone's picking on him, I like Draymond Green. Yes, exactly. I mean, that's not a bad game. 4 of 8. That's a Draymond Green game. 11 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, and a block, 4 of 8 shooting. That's what he does. And he blocked by the rim.
What does he do?
Little things, Dan. Glue guy.
very curious in like the logic of how Stugotz picks his enemies and his allies on sports, like who you ride for and who you challenge.
It's not worthy of your curiosity. Yeah. It's just inconsistent, and it's just saying words without keeping any track of the words you've said before.
I don't know if it's like the anthropologist in me, but I'm so determined to find some sort of unifying theory behind the things you do.
No rhyme or reason. And Brad Stevens, I'm coming for you. I'll just tell you that right now. Before everyone else does. Not today. Maybe today. But at some point, I'm coming for Brad Stevens. And I'm just warning him now. And I'm warning the media because now someone's going to try to, form some, bad opinion about Brad Stevens. I'm telling you, I already have it formed. It's mine. So anything you do from this point forward, nope, you stole it from me.
When you call it a bad opinion, do you mean a negative opinion or do you mean an opinion that is not good? An opinion that is no good, it is a bad opinion.
Yeah, bad opinion. Yeah, my opinion will not be good. But I will say what I have to say, and then I will, listen, I'm going to plant my flag in the Brad Stevens is overrated garden. That's where I'm going to do it. Do you plant a flag in a garden? I don't know. I'm going to plant it on the Brad Stevens moon.
I thought you planted it on a hill. I thought a hill is where you planted it.
Well, he's mine, and I'm just telling you that right now.
You have to walk
You're not first on this.
What do you mean?
McMenamin's beat you to it. Robert Parrish has beat you to it.
The Chief.
What are you going to do if they win, though, and he's successful with this take?
Oh, just blame Chris Paul.
Yep.
Yeah, I know, Mina. He's in the other conference, not playing in that series. It doesn't matter. He just shifts from place to place. Who's the guy that I can rip?
Oh, if he wins this series? Oh, LeBron didn't want to win this series. I'd start blasting LeBron. And then Chris Paul.
So you'll never praise Brad Stevens.
There's always another guy.
I have this sound from Robert Parrish, courtesy of Sirius XM.
I think you get a little too much praise.
That's on Brad Stevens.
That's good.
Oh,
the Chief.
That hurts.
It's one of my favorite things in sports. Does someone get too much praise or too little praise? Too much credit? Not enough credit. That's why no matter how laughable you think my opinion is on the Golden State Warriors playing the most beautiful basketball I've ever seen and being the best basketball team I've ever seen, we're splitting hairs. Do
you know what take I dislike that I've been seeing a lot on the internet? That LeBron is underpraised. Like in what? Like there's this backlash to the LeBron backlash, and I feel like the original backlash doesn't exist.
Here's more from Robert Parrish.
Oh, no.
You think he don't want a championship or two? They don't give Steve Kerr that much love. Come on.
Robert Parrish coming in hot.
Amazing, man. I got to tell you, Brad Stevens does not get enough credit. He doesn't. I mean, I'm telling you, man. Everyone's blasting Brad Stevens. And listen, you have a coach here with a team that lost their top two superstars, and he has them 2 games away from the NBA Finals with a bunch of no-names, a couple of rookies who have no experience in the postseason. Brad Stevens, best coach I've ever seen.
Here's Dave McMenamin on Brad Stevens.
Brad Stevens is 1-4 on the road in the playoffs this season. Brad Stevens was 1-8 against Toronto in the playoffs prior to this series.
I mean, the fact that the NBA Coach of the Year, which should be Brad Stevens, did not get a single vote from any other of the coaches is a complete disgrace. I am serious. Not a single coach voted for Brad Stevens to be NBA Coach of the Year, and they should all be ashamed of themselves because Brad Stevens is a better coach than they'll ever be. On his worst day, Brad Stevens is a better coach than those guys on their best day. How about that?
They who? The other coaches?
Not one coach voted for Brad Stevens. And that Brett Brown, that guy, I mean, what a phony he is. The Sixers coach, after not voting for Brad Stevens, the coach of the year.
Exhibiting the behavior of a phony.
Thank you, Dan, good save, kick save and a butte. But after realizing that no one voted for Brad Stevens, Brett Brown, who did not vote for him, said, oh, I would have voted for him. Stugotz is strong in that one, man.
Mina Kimes, can you explain again this LeBron? You're saying backlash to LeBron. We have imaging for it. I just want you to say the point again so that Mike Ryan can play the imaging and then we can go to commercial.
The take I keep seeing on our airwaves and Twitter is, why don't you guys appreciate LeBron? Everyone keeps blasting him. Who's blasting LeBron? Like, the only debate is whether he's better than Jordan. I don't understand this hypothetical backlash. I feel like it doesn't exist.
He's not better than Jordan.
Wow. Yeah. Good.
Dame más gasolina.
Chief. A little harsh parish there, huh? Robert Parrish hasn't said a single interesting thing in his life. All of a sudden.
That's not true at all.
Oh, he has?
That's not true at all.
Really? He's exhibiting the behavior of someone who hasn't said a single interesting thing in his life.
Don Le Batard.
People who love this show tend to really, really love Stugotz.
Thank you.
Stugotz.
I mean, yeah, the love is unreasonable for a man of your despicable core.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell with the Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app. Join and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. Here's your SportsCenter update. NFL owners are discussing a new national anthem policy. Among possible rules included is imposing a 15-yard penalty and or fines for players who do not stand.
Why are you laughing, Mina?
It's so dumb. It's dumb beyond what you think of who's talking about this issue, right? Who was talking about it at the end of last season? Can you name 5 guys who were protesting at the end of last season? Why is the NFL so determined to keep this at the forefront of public consciousness when no one's talking about it anymore?
Good points.
Oh, I don't think it is. A lot of people are talking about it. There is a giant segment of the population that is talking about it without being able to name anybody that's doing it because it's an entire narrative and it's become a politically divisive discussion. And by the way, everyone's going crazy about the NFL instituting a rule. The NBA has been doing it for 21 years in reaction to a protest.
But the problem is this keeps them talking about it. So, okay, let's say there are a lot of people talking about it. If they do this, it's going to stay in the conversation. Every time they introduce an idea like this, it kicks off another round of, we're talking about it right now, and people are listening, and it makes the NFL more controversial. I just don't understand it from a public relations perspective.
The owners have also approved new kickoff rules in the name of player safety. Anything there, Mina?
Yeah, get rid of the kickoffs. I'm
good.
Cool with that.
And finally, the co-writer of Earth, Wind, and Fire's iconic September says Taylor Swift sounds as lethargic as a drunk turtle dozing under a sunflower after ingesting a bottle of Value on her recently released cover version. High praise. Gum Out Regain Complete Fuel System Cleaner safely removes carbon deposits to help restore engine performance and maximize fuel economy. Try Gum Out Regain today at AutoZone. Buy one, get one free instantly for a limited time. Gum Out, science in, performance out. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please. Get rid of the kickoffs, ? Mina Kimes enjoys a looks like about herself. It is a good one. Mina Kimes looks like the friend of your wife or girlfriend who answers the door after you've separated and says she doesn't want to see you right now.
During the break, we were talking about why is that person often Asian?
Well, I was asking, yes. I don't know why that person tends to have Asian accents. Is it because in the movie that person tends to have Asian accents?
Because they got to give the Asian person a role, but it can't be too big of a role. So they'll say, okay, like the friend. So you'll get a name credit in the movie, but you don't like a lot of times in romantic comedies, the friend is Asian. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. The friend of the white female star is an Asian woman.
Put that on the poll too, Guillermo. Have you noticed that a lot of times in the romantic comedies, the friend of the female role is Asian?
Yeah, that could be me.
So you're telling me Harry Met Sally, if I go back and look at that movie?
Not from pre-2000. Then there were no Asians.
Oh, okay.
Only back then.
Is that right?
Thank you for clarifying.
Is that right?
Well, a few, but, you know.
Actually, let's think about this for a second. Where were the Asians in the movies before 2000? Name them.
There was the racist caricature in 16 Candles. Long Duck Long or something.
Yes,
yeah.
The racist.
Classic.
The classic racist caricature.
Rush Hour, 1998.
I mean, wait, does Jackie Chan count?
He's Asian.
I really got the ball rolling.
Hold on.
You don't think he's Asian?
Yeah. I'm not arguing whether Jackie Chan is Asian. I mean, he was a star over there, and we just sort of imported him.
I was thinking women, though, mostly, or like romantic comedies. I'm not complaining. I'm just stating facts. We're asking why this archetype rings so true for me to be answering the door while my white friend who's stuck in some sort of romantic morass is inside. I open the door. She doesn't want to come out right now. Close the door. It fits, and it fits for a reason.
Can Mina name a movie where there's an Asian best friend? Because I can't think of any.
Like every romantic comedy.
How is it every romantic comedy but you can't identify one?
You guys are making fun of her, but I'm telling you that for some reason, in my imprinting somewhere, the woman who's answering the door and telling the guy that her friend doesn't want to come out, she's Asian. I don't know why she's Asian, but in my mind, she's certainly got an Asian accent.
I just thought of one. Crazy Stupid Love. The friend is Asian.
All right, so that's one.
And
now
she's like, leave him. She's kind of sassy, too.
sassy.
I'll play that role.
So you got one.
I'm happy to be that caricature.
Speaking of playing roles, is anyone else confused by why Frank Thomas is doing these commercials for how healthy you can get when they're trying to hide him like they did the lead singer for Heart in all her videos, because they're trying to hide his body because he's wearing a lot of, black clothes. And am I the only one who's noticing this as a fellow fat guy, that Frank Thomas shouldn't be making these commercials for fitness because he looks a little bit heavy?
I mean, he's the big hurt.
I know he's the big hurt.
And also, it's not fitness.
No, for whatever it is, hormones.
Oh,
yeah.
Testosterone.
And guys, she'll like it too.
Yeah, it's really, that's really the hook here. And Big Hurt, you're saying he can't get some loving?
I'm not saying he can't get some loving, but he's giving off fitness and energy, is he not?
Testosterone, you said?
Yes.
No, he's giving off someone who's past his athletic prime that might need to get... Well, wait, baseball makes... This is a little too on the nose.
Well, if you listen to the story, and how could you not? It's on every 60 seconds. But if you listen to the story, you would know that Frank got to the age of 40, he couldn't stand straight anymore, which means he couldn't work out. So he took this thing that helped him get his energy back, helped him stand straight, and now he can work out. And the wives, they're going to like it as well. It is the creepiest ending to a commercial I've ever seen in my entire life.
So ethically dubious on so many levels, and we're focusing on his weight.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is the Frank Thomas commercial for testosterone ethically dubious? I want to ask you guys the question again. Did America enjoy watching the Warriors humbled last night?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, they enjoyed it for a number of reasons. They don't like that team. They finally got a good basketball game.
Is that true, though?
I think a lot of people don't like that team. Yeah, there's fatigue with that team.
Who's likable on that team? We were talking about this in the local hour. I guess because I've posited that Steph might be the most likable of the starting. I find Iggy more likable than him personally, but no one thinks about him. But of the four, who's really likable? Oh,
but I thought Urban Meyer had like 30 some odd arrests while he was at Florida and a future murderer in his huddle, and Tim Tebow was a halo for all of them. Steph Curry is one of America's most likable athletes.
In 1999, Lucy Liu played two roles. One was in Molly, where she was Brenda, Buck's workmate, and in The Mating Habits of the Earthbound Human, she played the female's friend, Lydia.
Do you know how many times in my life I've been compared to Lucy Liu? We look nothing alike. Nothing. But she's the only Asian woman that many Americans know. Lucy Liu. Like, name another actress from that period. I look nothing like Lucy Liu. Thanks, Billy.
Who said that you look like Lucy Liu?
He's trying to help your point.
Of course you
We're
dip into
allies
Lucy
here.
Liu.
By the way, have you guys seen pictures of Jet Li? Made me sad.
Yeah.
He's unrecognizable.
What happened?
He's sick. And apparently the lighting and his posture isn't helping, but he looks like an 80-year-old man in this photo. It was shocking. Someone asked me, guess who this is? I couldn't make a guess. And they told me Jet Li, and I was like, what? No.
Okay, good, Billy. Laugh at someone's sickness. That's good. I was about to condemn my
laughing at that. I'm laughing at that setup. That whole what? No.
Well, he was trying to fix it because he realizes we're up against the clock, and he just threw a dead fish on our lap of how sick Jet Li looks. Like, I mean, how does he do with that? I mean, what a horrible end to the segment. He knows where the clock is. It's been in the same place forever, so he's just trying to come up with a wacky ending. I don't want to see photos of Jet Li that are going to make me sad.
Doesn't look that
Can you believe that's Jet Li?
No, it's hard to believe. It looks like, what is that illness? I've told you about that people age 9 years for every 1 year or 7 years for every 1 year. And then so you got a 10-year-old boy that ends up looking like a small 70-year-old man. I don't know what the name of the illness is.
It was covered in Jack.
Benjamin Buttonitis?
The reverse Benjamin Button.
Itis. Kate Hudson's best friend, by the way, in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Asian.
Thank
How about
you.
that?
Yes.
I got a second one for
Good
you.
one.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie, this does look fun. Whee! You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Dan Batard.
Does Sam Darnold look like a Lego policeman?
Stugotz.
Oh,
Wow,
yes. That is fantastic.
That's
Yes.
tournament team.
Yes.
Write it down.
Number
Tournament
1 seed,
team.
right? I mean, man, that is good.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
If Stugotz is not morally bankrupt, he is sort of morally in foreclosure.
Whoa.
And if you're not familiar with what Stugotz does, is he makes a bunch of excuses and just a labyrinth of lies to cover up some of the things that he doesn't want to do. And last year, at about this time, he promised Boog Sciambi that he was going to go up to his charity event and he was going to contribute and he was going to get a lot of donations and everything else. And, you know, inevitably what happened is he had to leave a voicemail for Boog saying, yeah, everything I said is not true, but I'll get you next year. I'll get you next year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so next year has arrived. Boog Sciambi is going to come on with us in 10 minutes to talk about his charity event, a charity event that Stugotz isn't going to help him with. But Boog was kind enough to share the voicemail message that Stugotz left him, trying to extract himself from a series of lies. Here's that shameless, morally in foreclosure voice message.
Boogie, it's Wayne. Hope all's well. Give me a call when you can. Sorry it took me a while to get to you. Dude, so here's the deal. I got, as badly as I want to come up and do this, the timing on it's just, I got, as I told you via text, I got a really good friend of mine's son's bar mitzvah Saturday night, and I have the Sunshine State lacrosse tournament Saturday and Sunday that weekend.
Busy weekend.
So, and I coach the team. It's my daughter's team. So, yeah, it's going to be tough for me, bud. I'm sorry. I can come up Friday, and fly back Saturday. That's, although I'm not entirely ruling it out, I just got to wait and see what time my games are on Saturday. If there's a morning game Saturday, it's going to make it pretty difficult, considering I'm the head coach and probably need to be there for that, towards the year. So I should have the schedule in the next day or two.
I won't.
So, if I can't make it up, and if I do come up, I can only come up that Friday. If I can't make it up, I want to make a donation. Just let me know other ways I can help. And, you know, and if it's an annual thing, it's up to you doing it again next year, then I'll definitely be there and plan accordingly for it. So, all right. Call me when you can. Miss you. Love you. Want to catch up with you. We'll talk to you soon, pal. Bye.
So it goes without saying that the year has gone by and Stugotz has not made plans accordingly and also not made a donation.
Still have time, though. I mean,
was there a word of that was true?
Not even I love you.
The I love you was true.
He played the greatest hits of excuse making, though. It was bang bang, bar mitzvah, lacrosse, bang bang.
Lacrosse mitzvah.
Those are the big items in his toolbox.
Biggest tournament of the year.
I'm the coach. Boog.
Got to be there. I'm the coach, as you know. False hope. Maybe if it's an earlier game.
Yeah, that one.
I am the coach. That's the truth. That's the truth. Not the tournament of the year, though.
What are you going to do when your kids leave? Like, what kind of excuse are you going to lean on?
Oh, I'll think of something.
Illnesses.
He's got to visit the kids.
Yeah.
He's got to visit
Oh, right,
the kids.
visit them in
I'll coach a
college.
lacrosse team in college. I mean, there'll be something. There's always something.
You're
Got a
gonna
game, big
coach
game
their
this
college
weekend.
lacrosse
Yeah.
team.
My favorite part of that cringeworthy voicemail is Stugotz realizing that he could run a little more on this treadmill of hope and saying, you know, maybe I'll come up Friday for Saturday. I haven't ruled it out.
Talking it out, Dan.
What are you laughing about, Guillermo?
He did that to Chris for his wedding, too. Like, the day before, he's like, I may still be there. Save me a seat.
Did you not go?
No, I didn't go. Never
Why?
had
What?
a lacrosse game, and I never had any intention of going. I should have told him that in advance, though. Did that cost you any money? Or?
Yes.
He'll make a big donation to your next wedding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there will be a next one.
What? That's...
It's so mean. That was such a terrible thing for me to say. I'm sorry.
That took a turn.
50-50 chance.
I saw genuine shame on the face of Stugotz.
Yeah. He regretted it.
It is so rare.
For those of whom who can't see, he just whispered, "I'm sorry."
I did. Well, I think the regret he saw was during the actual phone call, and then yes, I did whisper, "I'm sorry" to Chris. That was not very nice.
Yeah, and it's great though that the national presentation of Stugotz would be filled with lies and shame, and then as an added bonus, he would tell a coworker, "Hey, your marriage, it's doomed. You'll get it right the next time."
He just blew a kiss.
That's right.
I did.
An insincere one.
Marriages are a coin toss. I mean,
that part's true.
Stugotz here for Hotel Tonight. Guys, I know you don't like planning things to do, but your lady will be happy if you set up date night and book a room with Hotel Tonight. Trust me, I have the app. It's fantastic, and it's only an app, not a website. It is just an app. Hotel Tonight partners with great hotels to get you incredible deals for tonight, tomorrow, and beyond. That's right. Don't be fooled by the name. It's not just for tonight. You got to get this app, guys. You can wait until the last minute and still score a crazy good deal at a super cool hotel, or you can actually book in advance if you're more of a planner. It's an app only, which means it's really easy to use, and you can book a room in like 10 seconds. Seriously, time yourself. Do it. I've done it. You'll be amazed at how quick and easy it is to use. They've got little profiles of each hotel with a fun summary of all the info you need to know and pictures of what the rooms really look like. And they also have a cool HD perks program where the more you book, the better the deals get. And it's not like other loyalty programs where you're trapped into staying at boring chain hotels. So download the Hotel Tonight app today and start booking better deals at better hotels now. Something better just came along. Hotel Tonight.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Don Batard.
It's Rich Eisen stealing my material. It is Jimmy Traina stealing my material. Hey, get out of here, man.
Who is that? Who is Jimmy Traina?
He's a media writer, I think, out of New York, who I happen to like.
Stugotz.
Like
there it is. There it is. The pivot of the Stugotz into schmarmy salesperson.
No, I happen to like Jimmy. Like, I don't know Jimmy, but I happen to like Jimmy. Jimmy Traina sounds like a guy I would hang out with.
It does. I think you're pronouncing his name wrong, by the way, but keep it moving.
Oh, whatever. I like Jimmy.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Mina Kimes in with us, senior writer, ESPN the magazine. You can follow her on Twitter at Mina Kimes. Boog Sciambi. In the history of this network, there's only one person who knows baseball better than Boog Sciambi. That's Tim Kirkshin. I don't even know if Boog Sciambi is willing to acknowledge that. Let's see if Boog Sciambi is willing to acknowledge that. When you and Tim Kirkshin are talking baseball, Boog, who knows more about baseball?
He does. He's 1,000 years old.
Okay, there it is. He's a compiler. He's got a longevity of knowledge.
But is that the only one? Is it Kirkshin? That's it?
That's the only one I'm willing to give it to.
Oh, everybody. What are you talking about? By the way, like, Joey Gallo has a card that gets him Chipotle at everywhere in the country. So I don't know why this is such a big deal. You know?
Joey Gallo?
I mean, that's what you get. Listen, when you hit 40 homers and bat at 191, that's what you get.
Give me an amazing stat to rival the stat I'm about to give you about Joey Gallo, which is that he arrived at 50 homers before he arrived at 50 singles.
Yeah. Crazy. I mean, I don't have an amazing stat. I have no amazing Joey Gallo stat at the moment. I mean, they keep playing four outfielders on him, which I love. That the field is bizarre to look at when he comes up to hit.
Mina Kimes is writing me a note asking, this is not Booger McFarland. This is not the SEC's Booger McFarland. And she just asked me, are these two different people, Booger McFarland and Boog Sciambi?
I thought
that hurts.
They're two different people.
Booger Sciambi, the voice of Sunday Night Baseball.
You thought we were talking to Booger McFarland about baseball?
Listen. Don't make assumptions, first of all. You don't know what he knows about baseball.
Right.
There's two humans named Boog and Booger?
Yeah, that's right. And I had it first.
A lot longer, and Boog Powell had it before me.
Attaboy.
Boog, what did you make of Tampa doing? You love revolutionary thinking. You love guys who are willing to be counterintuitive. What did you make of Tampa Bay starting Sergio Romo 2 consecutive games?
I want to be on Monday Night Football, by the way. Now. There's a way. It'd be great. I could just show up and just be like, how you doing? I'm Booger McFarland. I'm on the sideline. Okay.
I can't think of anyone at the network or the history of the network that looks less like Booger McFarland than you. He's a redhead, yes. Who looks less like Booger McFarland than Boog Sciambi? I'm serious. I mean... Mina looks more like Booger McFarland than Boog does. Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Yep. Who looks less like Booger McFarland, Mina or Boog Sciambi? What did you make of Tampa Bay starting a reliever 2 games in a row?
I liked it. I mean, I just, it's got to be different. I would say it's so much easier to do that stuff when your payroll's 27th and you have no media attention. Like, no matter how logical it is, trying to do that in Chicago for the Cubs or the Yankees or the Red Sox, it's much harder to pull that because it gets overdone, man.
But can you explain to us why it's a good idea? Like, is that something that you would try to do?
It depends on what your personnel is. Like, if I'm the Astros, I'm not going to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it depends on look, the one thing that's happening now is that teams are pretty in on the idea that with outliers aside, you're not going to want your starting pitcher to go through the order 3 times. So you get 2 looks. You're not looking for them to go deep to begin with, so you're just trying to cobble innings together. And now, you look at it the reverse, bullpen usage, the way the Brewers use Josh Hader. He's not their closer, but he's just their out-getter. They use him for 2 innings at a time, and then he sits for 2 days, or they use him for 4, and he's off a day, 4 outs, and then he's off a day. So it's just about cobbling together the 27 outs is all. Cobbling.
Can you explain this to me? You mentioned the Astros, and I was surprised to learn this the other day, that they've got the 3 best starting pitchers, ERA and WHIP, and that none of them are named McCullers. That they've got 3 guys on their staff that are just totally dominating the league.
Yeah, and Keuchel's won a Cy Young. Yeah, I think that there's an element of it. So they've gotten really into utilizing these things called edgertronic cameras, which are high-speed cameras that are super, super slow-mo. And when Verlander came over from Detroit, he needed some help with his slider. He was actually pronating before releasing, and it was kind of counteracting what they wanted him to do. So it really helps a lot with breaking stuff, and they're able to isolate in super, super slow motion what the hand is doing, and then also arm slot. So that, and they have smart guys with their data and applying their data to a guy like Garrett Cole, as I would say, utilized his weapons better than what he was doing, because he's throwing his fastball less, his breaking pitches at a much higher rate.
Can you explain to us the controversy involving the Astros and spin rate? The deal with Verlander getting there, and all of a sudden the spin rate is better.
Well, the controversy was that somebody tweeted at Kyle Bodie, who trains Trevor Bauer out in Seattle at Driveline Pitching. They do basically data-driven performance analysis and training. And somebody tweeted, "Hey, are the Astros better in baseballs? All these guys' spin rates are in." And Bauer inserted himself into the conversation with the emoji, where your hands on your chin. Is that what it is?
Thank you.
Which one is it, Mina? Help us. What is it? Okay, but what is it? The emoji?
It's like thinking in a suspicious manner.
Yeah. Mina really hurt my feelings, by the way.
I'm really sorry. I'm still grappling with this.
Jarring.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, and then he said, yeah, imagine you could acquire a player. He tweeted, then, imagine you could acquire a player and increase his spin rate. And, yeah, there are allegations that they are utilizing pine tar or some type of substance somewhere. The one part of this that came out that's interesting is that for the longest time, pitchers have used pine tar. No one has had a problem with it because everyone has always said they're just trying to get a better grip. But what Bauer pointed out, and we all learned something, is that it's not just getting a grip, it's that it can improve your spin rate. So the breaking ball will snap better, and then in terms of spin rate on a fastball, it'll improve that. So why does that matter? Because gravity. Two guys can throw a 93-mile-an-hour fastball, and if one of them stays on plane longer than the other, it has more carry. It's going to play like it's harder than 93. So Bauer said all that. The one thing I didn't like is that at the end he did that and then turned around and said, I didn't accuse anybody of anything. Like, it was kind of weak. It was passive-aggressive, and he just needed to come out and own it. Say, yeah, I think you're cheating.
Let's. I wish he had done it that way. Let's do this as quick as we can, Boog, because we've got a bunch of questions for you. 30 seconds or less, rapid fire on all these questions. Go, Stugotz.
Explain the Braves.
Talented. The two guys are really talented. Their position playing team is talented. Freddie Freeman is like just short of Joey Votto good. He's really, really good. He's been one of the 12 best hitters or so in baseball over the course of the last 3 years. He's outstanding. And then these two kids are amazing. I don't think that they'll hang in there, but they're leading the National League in runs per game. It's pretty incredible. I thought that the Phillies would be able to hang in, but not the Braves.
The Dodgers being terrible, injuries or baseball?
Man, a little bit of both, but I think that they're in trouble because they need a healthy Kershaw and they need a great Kershaw, and then they're not scoring. I mean, Cody Bellinger starting in center field, and Yasmani Grandal was hitting third for them, with all due respect to Yasmani the other night. So I think they're in a little bit of trouble.
Manny Machado, where's he ending up?
I don't know. Everybody says the Cubs, but the epitaph on the Cubs season is not going to say they didn't score. So I'm not quite sure. And he's not a plus defender at short. He is at third. He's one of the best ever at third. But at short, he's not, in my opinion, and people that I talk to, it's not as good. So I don't know. Yankees going to get one of those Mets starters? I don't know whether they'll get a Mets starter, but they're getting a starter. Maybe the guy that pitched against them last night, Cole Hamels. But I don't think that the Mets will do that. Is it worth it for a Robinson Cano? And I know that he got caught well after the contract, but is it worth it in baseball to risk the suspension for the contract?
Yes.
So you're asking me would I take steroids?
Yes.
For $240 million, yeah.
I'd probably give it a shot.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Tell us about what you're doing over the course of the next week, because you're involved with a good cause. You lost a friend of yours. It was very personal to you. Tell us about what you're working with.
Can we play the voicemail?
We already did.
We did, yeah. Looking forward to it, Boog. I'll be there for you.
Did he make it? He didn't even make a donation, right? You can track.
I still have time. If things not till next week, I was waiting for Boog to come on to give us the information.
Time for what? The best part is I've actually instituted a fine rule that, with everybody. Every clever person who listens to your show, when I tweet something out, they're the funny guy. Boogie, it's Weens. And everybody tweets that at me, and I've made it a mandatory $25 fine if somebody tweets that at me to donate to the charity. And by and large, people have been doing it.
Right. Well, that's nice. I think I tweeted that at you, actually, recently. I didn't make the donation, though. But I'm on it. I'm telling you, I have until next week. I'm excited. I'm going to do it for you.
Let's go. Raise some money, huh?
Okay, I will raise money for you. I can't be there, but I will.
Tax deductible, yeah.
All right, I have a lacrosse mitzvah, but I'm telling you, I will raise money for you over the next few days, okay?
All right. So the deal is this. I lost my friend Tim Sheehy to ALS in 2007. We've been running this charity ever since. We raise money for ALS patient care. There's no cure for this disease, which stinks, and we got to figure out a way to find a cure, but also help the living, and that is what our charter and mission is, because Pete Frates started the Ice Bucket Challenge last year, or started the Ice Bucket Challenge, and he raised $200 million. Last year, his family almost went bankrupt. So, that thing raised $200 million, but the costs are just gruesome when it comes to this disease. And by and large, it's because people are starting to live longer. The disease, by and large, it's 2.5 to 5 years usually the person lives. So our event is next Tuesday, and it's a gala in New York City at the Museum of the City of New York. And we have a great auction that is live right now. I'll send you guys some stuff. We have some really cool auction items. You can go to teamgleason.org/softball. You can donate in my profile. Anything helps. $10, whatever. And that's, we got a bunch of former baseball players, a lot of media people will be there. But the auction is live now. If you want to see, you can click on the link.
Give the link again, please.
teamgleason.org/softball.
Thank you, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
See you.
Thanks, Booger. Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
Called common sense reporting, Dan. Connect the dots.
Stugotz.
I would not describe your sense as common.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
You've heard me talk before about the crappy celebrity that comes with sports radio. I believe Guillermo might have a story that rivals the one I've told you. Homeless dude comes up to my car. I'm at a stoplight. He is selling copies of the homeless newspaper, the community newspaper. He gets to my car. I'm on the phone, and he's like, "Oh, I love you. I love your work. I love everything you do. Can you sign this for me?" And so I'm signing a homeless newspaper, and I'm saying to the phone as he leaves, man, celebrity does not get any worse than that right there. And then the guy comes back, and he's like, "Who are you again?" Because he didn't know whether I was Jay Mariotti or Mike Golick. I was just somebody he saw on television. Guillermo had something like this happen to him yesterday. I want you to put it on the poll. Whose celebrity story is crappier, mine or Guillermo's? Tell him yours, Guillermo.
So I'm a crazy person, as you may or may not know, and I'm, concerned about everything. And last year, there was a hurricane that came in and knocked out power down here for a week for a lot of people. So I do not want to be in that situation. So I noticed about a month ago that there's this company that's been advertising on TV, like during the commercial breaks for our shows, where it's like this generator that immediately turns on when your power goes out. And I'm like, you know what? That seems like a good thing to have. And they're like, oh, free consultation and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what can it hurt to go to this website and sign up and have someone come and see how much it would cost? So I did that, and I gave 2 different phone numbers because I wanted to make sure that they would get here in time for hurricane season, because I do not want to be without power. It's so hot and gross when there's no power. Like, I need air conditioning more than anything. Me too. Anyways, so finally, yesterday they called me, and they had called the day before. So yesterday the guy calls me, and he's like, hey, I'm calling from whatever the company was. I don't remember the name of the company. And he's like, I'm calling to see about the thing. And I'm like, yeah, actually, you called my house yesterday, and we set up a thing, and they're going to come, in a couple weeks to give an estimate and walk us through whatever. So I think that's the end of the conversation. And I'm like, thanks, whatever. I'm getting ready to hang up. And it's a call from Wisconsin, which is a miracle I even picked up, because I never pick up calls I don't know.
Does this story come complete with an ending?
We'll get there. So the guy, when I'm about to hang up, goes, let me ask you something. Your voice sounds familiar. Are you on the Le Batard Show? Whoa. And I'm like, wow, I am. Yeah. It's so cool that, you recognize me. And I'm like, your advertising actually works, because your advertising on the show is what got me to call the company. And then he's like, oh, wow, yeah. And then
okay, so it doesn't come with an ending.
There's no real ending.
Mina, can you tell me what your thoughts are? $2 go to the penalty box. Do you have thoughts on the Anthem news that just came out?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me if I had thoughts on Billy.
Sorry, I lost interest in that story halfway through.
Terrible.
I like your story better.
My ending would have been a free AC unit, man.
Yeah, you would have parlayed that into a lifetime of free air conditioning. You would have parlayed that into the Bill Gates McDonald's deal. You would have generators for life.
I need to work with Billy.
There is Anthem news coming out here, and what do we got here, Mina?
Well, it's fluid, but I think they're voting on some sort of proposal. It's close to being approved. Seth Wickersham's reporting for us. But the latest, what I'm seeing is they're going to require them to stand or don't come on the field, and then fine clubs if the players don't follow the policy. And it's being described as a compromise, even though, to the best of my knowledge, no players were involved in the negotiations, the discussion. The union seems to have been left out, so I'm not quite sure what sort of compromise that is. Again, this boggles the mind to me, the fact that they're just keeping this in the news. I don't understand. When I was asking about this, I asked some of the reporters who are covering it this morning what they were thinking. Someone told me that, they're worried that if this year there's a shooting or a Trump tweet or whatever, and there's a protest again. They're trying to get out in front of it, which, what are you doing? I don't understand.
This is making it worse?
Yeah.
Keeping it in a cycle?
It seems, I just don't feel like...
Their logic would be that it's making it worse in order to eventually make it better. I think the argument they would make is, we don't want anyone kneeling anymore, period.
Right.
And that's, as Mike said earlier, that's something that basketball has had in play for 2 decades since Chris Jackson knelt during the end.
And whenever you make the point about the NBA, you're always met with several buts because of their reputation. It's a lot more sterling in the eyes of its fans than the NFL is, but that doesn't mean
You're 100% right.
It doesn't mean it's different. In fact, they're reinforcing the rule. They're sending out memos, hey, make sure that you enforce this rule. And there's players that wear I Can't Breathe shirts, and they have the reputation of a woke league. They have the same exact rule, and it was in reaction to a protest.
But they didn't try. I mean, no one's tried, and I think I agree, but you're completely right. It's just that the rule has been around for decades, and with the NFL, but this institution of this rule, it's going to cause issues. The players are not going to be happy about it. They're going to do something, right? And my feeling was they weren't going to do something until they stirred the pot.
But when Abdul Rauf had his protest, it wasn't a polarizing issue the way it seems to be now. This is a political issue.
Well, but beyond that, yes, that part's true. And also true is that basketball has a good relationship with its players. What Mina is saying is true. Like, people are going to push against this boundary because they don't want these owners and this power group. Well, you've got here spokesman George Atala saying, we were not consulted ahead of this meeting on any potential changes to the Anthem policy. If there are changes to the policy that put players in a position where they could be disciplined or fined, we are going to do what we always do, fight anything that encroaches on players' rights to the end. The weird part about it is that people always forget that these folks are partners. Like, you can't just institute this stuff when what you have is collectively bargained.
Well, the owners think they can, though.
Okay, but it's going to be fought. The owners keep thinking that they can punish players, and the union keeps getting those bounty things and everything overturned.
I just didn't think there were going to be more protests, though. I just don't believe that. I really felt like it had simmered down as a compelling, or not compelling, but a statement that people cared about.
I hear you, and I totally dismiss that notion. I speak to several conservatives, and there are the people that boycott this league because of that Anthem protest. It's not a mythical figure. They exist out there.
This isn't bringing them back. Like, they're like, oh, yeah, okay, now the NFL's got a rule. Great, I'm back in. Like, if they were gone, they were gone. I don't think this is going to help, is what I'm saying. If anything, it's going to make more players protest, and so these people, which I do agree they exist totally, when the players were protest in response to this, it's going to drive more of them away, is what I'm saying.
Don Lebatard.
Creepy as F.
Stugotz.
I had a cat. Schmitty, he died.
This is the Don Lebatard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guest on the Dan Lebatard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Tune in tomorrow morning for a First Take with Molly Max and Stephen A., as they are joined by Michael K. in the 10 o'clock hour. Here's your SportsCenter update. The Mets have signed Jose Bautista to a 1-year deal. Immediately, he doubled in his first at-bat. Joey Bats. How about that? Milwaukee Bucks rookie guard Sterling Brown plans to sue the Milwaukee Police Department after officers used a stun gun on him without provocation. I can't say that word. You know what? I saw it, and I can't say it. I know I can't say it.
I know what the word is.
Well, can you say it for me?
Provocation?
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. Provocation?
We've had revocation, or what was it earlier? Revocal. What did you say?
Billy said revocal, and it's not a word.
Revocal. Provocation.
Billy's having a hell of a day all around.
Yeah, I feel bad, actually. As the show's gone on, I felt worse and worse about
You shouldn't.
No, I feel really bad.
And finally, a judge sided with two parents and said their 30-year-old son needs to leave their house. The son had been living in his parents' house for 8 years. He called the ruling outrageous and said he would appeal the decision. The parents started leaving notes for their son in February. After a discussion with your mother, we have decided that you must leave this house immediately. You have 14 days to vacate. You will not be allowed to return, reads a note dated February 2nd. You are hereby evicted, a February 13th note reads. You have heretofore been our guest, and there is no lease or agreement that gives you any right to stay here without our consent. A subsequent note offered the son $1,100 cash as an incentive to move, and also
severance package.
Yes, an incentive package to get the hell out of here, and also encourage them to get a job. That offer went unheeded, and the couple filed a petition with the state Supreme Court to remove their son from the house. The 30-year-old contended that his parents didn't give him enough time to leave, but a court on Tuesday sided with the parents and evicted their son. Guys, you know me. I like to be in the action. If you need tickets to the game or your favorite band, look no further than Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Vivid Seats has options to fit your needs. Make sure you get to vividseats.com/ESPN today for an exclusive discount offer. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please. Should the 30-year-old son have been evicted by his family and a judge? And also, because we've got this Anthem news, and I just looked at my television and I saw Will Cain pop up, put this on the poll as well. When the Anthem is being discussed, does Will Cain appear from under the First Take desk from a portal, and a flume? I mean,
is Brewski down there for the Patriots?
Yes. There are two. I don't know.
By the way, Teddy says nothing to see here when it comes to Brady skipping OT.
Really?
That was
Brewski says nothing to see here.
That was yesterday. Yeah, he did say that. Yes, yeah. He was down there. Yeah,
like a bat light for Kane. And what does the bat light look like for the Anthem? Is it an American flag light that shoots out over Bristol?
I'm wondering.
It's just an eagle soaring across the sky.
He is right in the center of the set. I don't know what he's saying, but it seems like he's our Anthem expert.
I have a few guesses.
You could guess?
I'm not gonna.
Are we gonna have offsetting penalties when guys kneel on both sidelines?
Replay for a sound.
They should do that. Listen, I'm going to kneel. You're going to kneel. No one's going to get penalized. We're all good.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Are we going to have offsetting penalties when guys on both sidelines kneel?
This is coming across the league office, this audio, and Goodell's going, damn it.
Oh,
no. Maybe it's like also how you kneel. Like, are you kneeling gently? Are you kneeling with force? Are you using your helmet? Like they could do all kinds of gradations on penalties for this.
It seems like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but 15 yards for that, 10 yards for holding, like it seems like a more important thing.
Right? It's just 5 more yards. It's our flag you're disrespecting there.
Do you
just
lose
held
a down?
Jersey.
Like, have we clarified if there's a loss of down? Because that is really important as well.
Is this too much of an oversimplification? In Rockets Warriors, we all knew, right? We all felt like the only hope that the Rockets really had is, can they make more threes 4 out of 7 games? And I'm pretty sure that the team that has won in this series every time has been the one that has been better from 3. I don't think that is with dilution. I think it is an oversimplification, but I also think it's so that every time one of the teams is better at threes, that's the team that ends up winning the series. It's only a 4-game sample, but now you turn it into best of 3. And now if you're Golden State, that stuff becomes scary when the role players are playing at home and you can get the 3 barrage from Gordon or PJ Tucker. You're reducing your margin for error, which is all that Houston did with its blueprint. Houston right now is thrilled with this situation because when you're playing against the better team, you want to have this kind of thing where it's best of 3 and you might be able to get 2 outliers.
Right, but as a championship team, though, like I don't think Golden State's sweating this at all. You're right. Houston's in a much more comfortable position than they were obviously yesterday, but I don't think Golden State's sweating this. Plus, they already beat them game 1 on the road. I mean, they did it already.
I'm not saying that that Golden State can't win on the road. Right. I'm just saying that becomes scary because Houston's going to get their threes. They're going to always try to get to 50 threes, and if they make a bunch of them on that night, all of a sudden being better than someone doesn't matter as much.
If the Rockets are the Rockets we've seen all year for 2 more games at home, you're right, Golden State.
That part's scary no matter how good you are.
Mm-hmm. That's been true of every series in the playoffs so far. Every game, it's like one team has been completely terrible from 3 and one team is not, and the team that's made them has won. That was true for the Heat, for the Sixers, for the Celtics so far, the Cavs. I mean, it's not just a Rockets thing, I feel like. The modern NBA.
One of the things that happened here, and we've been talking about this Anthem news because the NFL owners are set to approve a policy that will require players to stand on the field, and if you don't want to stand on the field during the Anthem, you could stay in the locker room. Dominic Foxworth, friend of the show, has been in negotiations against the owners as the head of the Football Players Union. And he came away. He went into a meeting with Jerry Jones thinking to himself, I'm a little bit overwhelmed. I'm a little bit overmatched. And then he had the meeting with Jerry Jones and was like, oh, this person's not smart. He's not smarter than I am. Stephen A. Smith, what is the name of the new owner of the Carolina Panthers?
Tempest.
Mina was saying she's got a business background. Mina was saying that this guy is actually smart. The new owner of the Carolina Panthers. We give a lot of credit to these billionaires because a lot of times we think they earn the money on some sort of merit or something. We give them a lot of acumen based on having made money. But Mina's saying this guy is actually very smart.
Well, he's smart at some things. Like, I don't know if he's good at public relations, which seems to me to be the crux of the stupidity here, is dealing with the outside world in the NFL. But, so I have never interviewed him, but when I was at Fortune magazine, it was during the financial crisis, and that was sort of when he kind of rose to prominence. I'm sure you guys have heard about he bought distressed financial stocks, spent billions, made billions. He was one of the few investors on Wall Street who made the most money during that period. But actually, that was kind of Tepper. That was characteristic of his entire career, was making these big, bold bets during the Asian crisis. He did it, I think, on commodities leading up to that. And he's lost a lot of money, too. But what I find interesting from him is that he's a pretty self-made guy. I don't know if you know, he unlike a lot of the owners, he doesn't come from money. This is not institutional wealth. He built this himself. So I find that interesting, sort of ideologically, he's pretty different from a lot of the NFL ownership class. He's kind of a different voice and has a different point of view.
I'd love the idea of this guy walking into the room and thinking to himself, oh, I'm actually smarter than these other people here. A lot of people walk into the room thinking they can win that way, but I love a guy who's bold enough to think he's the smartest guy in the room.
Maybe he deserves those brass balls.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ad's better. Go, somebody.
He's smart enough to get Cam Newton a receiver? Didn't do that.
If you don't know the joke that Stugotz was making, Tepper has brass balls on his desk.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like a whole new person.
Disclaimer, you will not become a whole new person. This is impossible. You might be able to join a gym or diet program, buy a new wardrobe, get hair implants, but your DNA and physical form will remain the same. Geico waives any and all liability if you attempt to become a new person, except a cyborg. If you choose to become a half-human, half-cybernetic organism with lasers for eyes, the Geico legal team would be cool with that, because, quote, laser eyes are pretty sweet. Pew, 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 end quote.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Don Le Batard.
Before Hacky Sack came out, obviously, my dad had a chance to invest in Hacky Sack.
Stugotz.
I remember the conversation a little bit because I was old enough to remember it, but he tells the story all the time. He laughed the guy off the phone. Laughed the guy off the phone, told him it was the worst idea. The guy went on to make hundreds of millions of dollars.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Mina, why were you laughing with or at Stugotz during the break? If you're not familiar with this voice, Mina Kimes, ESPN the magazine, senior writer with us today. This is our last segment. She's in hosting Highly Questionable this week, 4:30 Eastern on ESPN television.
I was workshopping takes with Stu, as I do. For Highly Questionable. Yep. And the question was, whose health should the Warriors be most concerned with? Steph Curry's, Andre Iguodala's, or Klay Thompson? He went quiet for a second, and then he yelled, Andre Iguodala. And then when I stared at him, he said, glue guy, get it? Glue guy. And I got it, but Stugotz
also called Draymond Green a glue guy, and Draymond Green's not a glue guy, isn't he?
Well,
he
is when
player.
Iguodala is not in, then Draymond becomes the glue guy, and that's what he was last night until he wasn't because they didn't win the game.
Stugotz was very pleased with himself. Iguodala, he came out of the studio, shouted it at me like a 5-year-old that has drawn something for the refrigerator.
I was very excited.
You rolled back your chair like someone who's just won something, a prize or something. You rolled back 5 feet and kind of spun a little.
Well, I'd be concerned. I mean, he's the guy who didn't play last night, and they lost last night. At home, they never lose at home. Iguodala's not playing. Suddenly, they lose at home, and they blow big fourth-quarter leads. Why? Because Iguodala's not there. Glue guy.
Didn't you have some opinions during the break, too, about Take Me Out to the Ball Game and the singing of Take Me Out to the Ball Game at Wrigley Field?
I just find it funny that where A-Rod has arrived is amazing.
Yeah.
Sammy Sosa cannot get into Wrigley Park. Like, if he shows up at Wrigley Field, excuse me. If he shows up, I don't know why I said that. If he shows up to Wrigley, because I'm Stugotz, if he showed up to Wrigley, I'm telling you, they wouldn't let him in. Okay? Security, no one will let Sammy Sosa in. In trolls Alex Rodriguez on Sunday Night Baseball this Sunday into Wrigley Field, and not only is he calling the game from the right field bleachers, A-Rod is, because the fans love him. He's A-Rod. He is leading the fans in the singing of Take Me Out to the Ball Game. It's incredible. And Sammy Sosa, who did everything for that city, for that team, he can't get in to Wrigley Field. I just find it amazing that A-Rod has landed at this spot where people want to be around him. Fans love him. No one seems to care about anything, but they care about Sammy Sosa.
I got my makeup done next to A-Rod the other day in L.A.
That's cool.
Who took longer?
Well, he has a glow about him in person that it's like when a woman is pregnant, you know, where you just know there's something special going on. He emits energy. I was drawn to him. He's magnetic. So I get it. I get A-Rod now. I've never really gotten it before. I mean, the voice, you know, whatever. But now I get it.
People are writing in Dre Bond Green. Dre Bond Green. I'm just telling you that they're writing it in. Happy 62nd birthday to Buck Showalter, the manager of the Baltimore Orioles.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
Did you see the other day, Stugotz, the Orioles are terrible, and an Oriole pitcher allowed a home run or a grand slam, and Buck came out to get the pitcher before the home run trot was complete. So Buck came out to pull the pitcher out before the Red Sox hitter got to third base. Buck Showalter crossed his path to get to the mound, and the only thing that would have been better for the Orioles season is if the pitcher they missed each other, if the pitcher had also gone to the dugout that fast before the Red Sox had gotten home.
That's so Buck.
That's right. I'm going to show my displeasure with that home run you've allowed.
I'm not going to wait for him to get home.
Do you feel like the Warriors could have used Brad Stevens last night? You guys who would trade Brad Stevens for a superstar?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
He's a missing piece.
Yep.
Did you identify any coaching errors other than the timeout? Like, can you name a single thing you would have done different? Anyone in this room would have done differently.
Well, Mina's got a great theory on the Warriors being poorly constructed. Like, their biggest issue is they got too many centers on the roster. They got a bunch of guys that can't play in that game.
I would have put gel in my hair if I were Steve Kerr. Bad hair night, man.
It's a glue guy thing to do.
Good analysis.
Stugotz here for Hotel Tonight. Guys, I know you don't like planning things to do, but your lady will be happy if you set up date night and book a room with Hotel Tonight. Trust me, I have the app. It's fantastic, and it's only an app, not a website. It is just an app. Hotel Tonight partners with great hotels to get you incredible deals for tonight, tomorrow, and beyond. That's right. Don't be fooled by the name. It's not just for tonight. You got to get this app, guys. You can wait until the last minute and still score a crazy good deal at a super cool hotel, or you can actually book in advance if you're more of a planner. It's an app only, which means it's really easy to use, and you can book a room in like 10 seconds. Seriously, time yourself. Do it. I've done it. You'll be amazed at how quick and easy it is to use. They've got little profiles of each hotel with a fun summary of all the info you need to know and pictures of what the rooms really look like. And they also have a cool HD Perks program where the more you book, the better the deals get. And it's not like other loyalty programs where you're trapped into staying at boring chain hotels. So download the Hotel Tonight app today and start booking better deals at better hotels now. Something better just came along. Hotel Tonight.
Dan Le Batard.
Man, you have no journalistic responsibility.
Stugotz.
Yep, and I love it.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. ESPN Deportes will be the Spanish language home of the UEFA Champions League final this Saturday, May 26th at 2:20 p.m. Eastern, 11:20 a.m. Pacific time with Real Madrid. Will they make history and win for the third consecutive year, or will there be a new champion in Liverpool? The Champions League final, May 26th, live and in Spanish on ESPN Deportes and the ESPN app. Here's your SportsCenter update. Robert Kraft said that Tom Brady will report to mandatory minicamp. It's mandatory. What if he doesn't? What's Kraft going to do? Danica Patrick will become the first woman to host the ESPYs. And finally, the city of Lake Worth, Florida, falsely sent out a zombie alert to its residents during a power outage. That is horrifying, man. I mean, no power? Your city sending out a zombie alert?
That's why you need backup generators, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Good point by you. You redeemed yourself. Wedding season is upon us.
It's going to take months before he does that.
For all of us.
Maybe years, maybe the entirety of his career. Today is going to haunt him the way that timeout haunts Chris Webber.
There's no coming back.
Wedding season is upon us, and the easiest way to look fresh for your big day is with thebblacktux.com. The Black Tux has awesome suits and tuxedos that you rent online. To get $20 off your purchase, visit thebblacktux.com/Dan. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day. You can join me at the first annual Golick and Wingo Leadership Retreat at Pinehurst Resort for a chance to play golf with two of your friends. All you have to do is follow us at Le Batard Show on Twitter and tweet us why you deserve to join us, including the hashtag SteelbackStew Contest. One entry per person. You can find the contest rules on our Twitter bio and at ESPNradio.com.
We've been telling you that the Vegas Golden Knights are the best story in sports and one of the best stories ever in sports. It's crazy.
It is.
They expected something different than this, and we are now joined.
They made it to the Stanley Cup with players that other teams did not want.
That's right. And this guy here, I'm pretty sure he was a goon. And now he's not a goon anymore. You don't see a lot of that. So Deryk Engelland is with us on ESPN Radio. Do I have that right? I don't mean to insult you, but weren't like you at one time, it would have been a compliment to be called a goon in that league, right?
Yeah, definitely. It was part of my game that got me, to where I'm at today. You know, a lot of guys have to change their game or do whatever it takes to get up here, and that was one thing that I had to do to get to this level.
Do you have some funny stories there? Do you have any great stories about winning or losing a fight?
Oh, they're all good. You know, it's there's always great if you drop some guy or something, but I think I'm just looking for a good one. You know, it's you look at times that you drop someone or something like that, but it's the best fights are the ones that are just battles that, you have a whole ton of respect for the other guy, and you're going out there and giving the fans what they want, giving the boys on the bench what they want is a good fight and gets them going.
Well, but don't you have a great story involving you being in a fight and your future wife hating that about you?
Oh yeah, that was back in Vegas, in the East Coast. It was brought her to my first game, and after I met her, and ended up getting in a big fight, and she kind of thought I was crazy, but I had to explain, it's part of my job, and that's what I do.
No, explain this to us, though. Take us through this entire story. So you meet a woman, and you want to date her, and what?
Yeah, I met her a few nights before and told her to come to the game. So she came to the game with one of her friends, and we were planning on meeting out after, and ended up getting in a fight and go to McMullen's after, where we usually ate after games, and she didn't show up, so I had to call her. And once I called her, she's like, "I don't know, you thought I was kind of crazy," and I had to explain to her over the phone, and she ended up coming, and here we are 15 years later.
But hold on a second.
That's great.
I'd like to know the entirety of this story. So you are feeling what during the fight? Are you trying to impress her during the fight?
Oh, no, it's just part of the game, you know. It ended up being able to get a fight that game, and it was a good fight. I don't remember who it was against or anything, but, you know, it's part of the game, you know. You never really planned for it, not too often anyways, and it happened, and,
Deryk,
you know,
listen,
luckily
forgive
she
me.
came after.
Deryk, forgive me.
He was just doing his job.
I know. I don't want to talk to you about fighting. This is a great story, and I know hockey players get bored talking about fighting. But when you meet your wife this way, it's a fairly unusual set of circumstances. And what did she say to you when she's picking up the phone? Is she saying, "I don't want to go out with you. I'm gonna stand you up"?
Yeah, no, she was just kind of hesitant meeting me after. She didn't know really much about hockey, and me being in a fight that night, she thought, you know, I was maybe a little too aggressive or something like that. But you know, you just have to explain how hockey worked, and you know, like I said, luckily she came out after.
So I come up to you before the season, as when 12 months ago, you guys didn't have a player on the roster. So you find out you're a Vegas Golden Knight, and I come up to you and say, best case scenario, what happens this season? Wildest dreams. You're telling me the highest of your expectations is what?
Oh, I think going into any season, doesn't matter which team you're on, every single guy their goal is to make the playoffs. You know, that's everyone's goal, and I think you know, with what they did in the expansion draft and the players they got, that you know, I thought we were going to be a competitive team, and you know, that's everyone's goal, is to make playoffs. But if you were to say I'd be sitting here waiting for the Stanley Cup Finals to start, I probably would have laughed at you at the time.
Deryk, I would have laughed at you if you'd said you're going to make the playoffs. Like, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah.
Does a kid Deryk, I'm wondering, does a kid from Edmonton, where hockey's so big in Canada, as everyone knows, does a kid from Edmonton, even though you're on a team that's playing in the Stanley Cup, do you laugh at the fact that we're staring at perhaps a Las Vegas, Tampa Bay Stanley Cup?
No, they've had a great team for years now. They got, you know, both them and Washington are both great teams over the past, a long time. So I'm not surprised that coming down to those two teams out of the East, they've been great for years, and they've had both had great years this year.
What is your life like these days in Vegas? Like, how popular are you? Can you sort of explain to us how the city has embraced this team?
Yeah, it's crazy how much it's grown throughout the whole year, and now in playoffs, it's just to another level. You know, you really, for Vegas, before there was a team here, and no one knew who you were, and now you can't go anywhere without someone noticing you. So it just goes to show how much the team is embracing the team here.
What are the practices like in terms of fan output?
It's sold out. Well, not sold out, they're free, but there's not a seat in the house for any practice. Doesn't matter if it's optional with 5 or 6 guys out there or a full team practice. There's packed fans.
Hold on a second. How many people would be sitting there for a practice?
Well, I don't know. There's probably, I don't know, if I were to guess, 500, 600, 700 maybe.
Oh, okay. So it's a small area, but still. What's the furthest you were from your NHL dreams? Like, where did you play hockey where you were, because this entire team is made up of discards. Where did you play hockey where you're like, man, I am nowhere close to the league right now?
Oh, there was lots of times in the minors that you're starting to second guess yourself and start thinking about what you should do after hockey and if you should go try overseas or whatnot. And there was numerous times like that that you're thinking, what should I do now?
Congratulations on your success, Deryk. It's a cool story. Thanks for being on with us.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Deryk.
Washing my nose, oh yeah. I'm a shower curtain, and I do one thing, keep water from leaking everywhere. So you see why I feel useless compared to Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could Geico save you money, but they've been around for over 75 years. And they give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or on the Geico app. And they've got a 97% customer satisfaction rating. They do all this while I have to listen to this chucklehead. Oh, good, he stopped. Washing my toes! Oh, great, an encore.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Don Le Batard.
I watched the game, man. I watched the game. Don't do one of these things that you didn't watch the game and you're going to make me feel stupid about what I just said. I watched the game. I saw it with my own 2 eyes.
Stugotz.
I saw the game, too.
Damn.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So let's go ahead and sink into this because the complaints are coming in from every corner of the internet. Everyone's spitting bile at us. A texter writes in, how can you still be so bad at interviews? This is what happens. You get lazy when they pay you so much. Like, you guys don't think I knew that was bad?
That's not nice to say about Engelland, man. I mean,
you guys don't think that we knew how bad that was as it was happening? That is your generic sports radio interview, and we did not give you the enthusiasm that surrounds Vegas hockey right now. And we did not give it to you because that guy didn't give it to us.
Yeah. I don't know, just the delivery. He just sounded tired.
I mean,
and maybe he is. It's a long run.
He sounded like a hockey goon.
The hockey playoffs are difficult. You can't send that guy out to sell your hockey franchise. Luckily for Vegas, they're winning anyway. So
that's why they're sending out Wayne Newton.
We tried. We asked him about how he met his wife 16 times.
There was a good story there. He just didn't tell it. And I feel like a real coward ripping him, but it was awful. And there are many people on our text machine right now saying they no longer root for the best story in sports. It was nice of him to give us his time, but that's all he gave us.
That's got to be such an incredible feeling that if you see someone that you like, just walking up to her and sliding 2 tickets to a professional game that you play in, that's got to be, I mean, man.
Let's relax. It's hockey.
I mean, still, though. I mean,
you should see.
It was minor league hockey at the time.
It's still hockey, man. People are saying there's still.
I would say thank you for this coaster. This is an amazing coaster. Thank you so much. Minor league hockey tickets.
All right, let me explain something to you guys as to why
other than what you have. I mean,
he wrote something for the Players Tribune. Now, I'm going to go ahead and guess that this was written for him, not because of him. I just know that the Players Tribune tends to send reporters out to write first-person stories for players, and when professional writers tell a story, the stories come out better than they did right there on the radio. So, this was the story that lured this guy into our lives and the reason that we interviewed him. It's from the Players Tribune. When I was younger, I never in a million years thought I would ever call Vegas home. I'm an Edmonton kid. I first came here in 2003 to play for the Las Vegas Wranglers in the ECHL. It was about as far from the NHL as you could get. Our arena was inside the Orleans Casino, and since there wasn't a real weight room, the whole team used to go do workouts at the Gold's Gym up the street. It was a sweet deal with this Irish bar. It was kind of rough and tumble, but it was a blast. We were all making like $500 a week, so the team worked a pretty sweet deal with this Irish bar called McMullen's. It was right across the street from the Orleans, so we would all walk over after the game to eat dinner. The deal was that you could get a free meal as long as you left a $5 tip. This one night, I noticed a pretty girl sitting near the bar with her friends. I walked up to her and introduced myself. I said I played hockey for the Las Vegas Wranglers, and I guess part of me thought she'd be impressed. But she had the blankest expression possible. Las Vegas has a hockey team? A few days later, she was sitting in the stands at her game. In those days, I dropped the gloves quite a bit. So at some point during the game, some guy asked if I wanted to go, and I knew that she was in the stands, so you're damn right I wanted to go. And you know I wasn't about to lose a fight in front of this girl. So I got him pretty good, and I'm sitting in the penalty box, hands all cut up, thinking she probably thinks I'm pretty cool. So I got to the bar after the game, and she was supposed to meet me there. So I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. Finally, I called her, and she was like, "Are you kind of crazy?" I'm like, "What? No." Then why did you beat that guy up? That's a little bit irrational, don't you think? I think that's exactly what she said. Irrational.
Should have let him answer in pen.
Should have gotten the author of that Players Tribune article.
Oh, come on.
That's so unfair, man.
I mean, it's mean. What we're doing is mean.
It is because, I mean, if this were on NHL radio on like some satellite channel, that interview would kill. But the hockey players you have to have a different baseline when you're talking to a hockey player.
I've always found hockey players delightful, accessible, polite. I've never had a bad experience with a hockey player until 15 minutes ago.
Oh, but like in terms of delivery, hockey players aren't exactly a champagne bottle opening.
No, but you can usually get stuff out of them, and I feel terrible about what I'm doing right now, but not as terrible as I felt 10 minutes ago.
You're starting to feel a little bit better.
I am. This is soothing. Yeah. There's something therapeutic about just sinking right into the sewage.
I'm glad someone feels better about it.
I mean, what do you want me to do? Let's just sink right deep into it, because I'm sure it's going to get better in the next segment when we talk to a Bikram yoga guy.
We're going to fix it with yoga?
That's right.
Oh, this story's nuts.
What are we doing? There are big basketball games being played. Talking yoga.
What is this story that's nuts that we're going to talk in the next 10 minutes?
It better be nuts.
I urge you guys all to go listen to something else, because we have put together a real bleep show today. Like, I just urge you. Like, we're not going to pull out of this today. We're going to get to 12:55 on our hands and knees Eastern and just hope that nobody gets fired, because this day's a wash.
It's 12:54:32. Fun.
You know what? We should probably just disappear for a couple of days after today's show. Just disappear.
I'm going to put myself in the penalty box for 5 days at 12:54:32. You will not hear from me for 5 days.
I might join you.
Listen to me.
I've done nothing.
The last time I felt like this, I took a year-long sabbatical from writing.
Yeah.
And what I'm telling you is I am going to spend the next 5 days contemplating quitting. And I'm not going to be publicly speaking anywhere for 5 days as I meditate, maybe do some Bikram yoga as I...
maybe not. Yeah, we'll find out after this interview as to whether or not you want to do Bikram yoga.
What? Go ahead and sell this next...
By the way, how's your cell phone signal inside of a tequila bottle?
Yeah.
I'm telling you that I am staring into the abyss right now.
2 bars?
I am spending the next 5 days looking at our future and seeing if it's worth continuing. What went from the greatest story in sports has now made me think I need to take a long rest from this job. I can only blame Deryk Engelland for that. I'm sorry I want to publicly apologize to Deryk Engelland, because what I'm doing is unfair. It's not nice.
Not how apologies work. You can't say I'm sorry and continue to pile on.
Okay, but I still feel bad about it, and I'm not joking when I say that interview makes me want to quit this.
Really? So the draft and Deryk Engelland, huh?
That's right. Go ahead, Mike. Sell our next interview.
Oh, boy.
Bikram yoga was this wildly popular trend that took the yoga world by storm. However, the empire was built on lies and allegedly sexual assault.
Whoa.
I quit.
Me too.
Don Batard.
People have told me before, when I was younger, that I looked like George Clooney. I'm serious. When I was younger.
Stugotz.
You have a booger in your right nostril.
So does Clooney.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So Jody Avirgan is a reporter, and I am told people are texting in that this 30 for 30 podcast on this story, this 5-episode series, Bikram, is on the ESPN app and wherever podcasts are available. I'm told that this story by a lot of different people has been one of the best that ESPN has done. So, some people are writing in, I feel like the show is the equivalent of you guys just standing around a craps table, crapping out every second roll. Yes, and then imagine a meteor hitting the craps table after that. But this guy's going to rescue us. This guy and this story is going to rescue us. So thank you, Jody, for making time for us. Before we get to this Bikram yoga story, though, I want to get to another story in your past, which is trying to train a cat how to use a toilet. Can you tell me about this, please?
Someone did their research over there. You really do have an ace team of researchers.
You'd think the interviews would be better.
Yeah, you'd think. Look, if we talk about this, we're definitely going to get you to 12:50. birthday sabbatical. I did, in a past life, I did a story where the great jazz musician Charles Mingus, in addition to writing some of the best jazz music of all time, also developed a patented, unique style method for training your cat to use the toilet. It was called the Charles Mingus Catalog for training your cat to use the toilet. And you could write a letter to Charles Mingus and send him $2, and he would send you back a little pamphlet that showed you how to do this. So I did a radio piece where I took a modern day cat and tried to teach it to use the toilet with the Charles Mingus method.
Well, explain it to us, though. How does it work? So, explain to us how successful.
So let me see if I can remember the rules of the catalog here. Basically, what it involves is cats are very finicky. They like their routines, and so what you do is you take a litter box and you sort of slowly, over the course of weeks, move it closer and closer to the bathroom, and then you move it up onto the toilet, and you cut sort of smaller. The cat just becomes used to it, and then eventually you just can take the box away, and your cat it just gets used to going in the toilet. And I have a cat that is toilet trained. It's the most magical thing in the world. I don't have to deal with litter. My cat was trained on a slightly different method, but very similar principles.
How long does it take?
It could take weeks, and a lot of the sort of Mingus method is it's really more about cat psychology, Dan, than anything. And so a lot of the Mingus method is like, don't rush it, take your time. If you go too fast, your cat's going to freak out. So, it'll take a couple weeks, but then it pays off for a lifetime.
There's no stories involving the cat getting in the toilet, like the cat falling into the toilet?
No, though at one point I was sort of bragging to a friend of mine about how my cat uses the toilet and how wonderful it is, and he was like, think about how terrified your cat must be. That's the equivalent of you like leaning backwards over a swimming pool and having to go to the bathroom. I felt a moment of sympathy for my cat, and then I didn't change anything because it's great to not have a litter box.
Does the cat read a newspaper?
No. Well, it's tablets these days.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
there's no flushing involved, right?
Well, by me. Yeah, not by the cat. We have not trained the cat to do that. And so I just walk. I come home from work every day. I walk in and I flush the toilet, and that's it.
And litter is out of your life. The litter box and the litter.
I've never had a litter box in my life. We got the cat. The cat was already trained. We sort of reacclimated it to our toilet, and we're great. And never had a litter box. Our house does not smell like cat. It's pretty awesome.
Never misses? Like ever?
No. I mean, think about the proportions, the ratios. Like, it's a pretty big target. Yeah.
Can you train your cat to do anything else?
That's not enough for you?
Well, I just feel like you're tricking your cat more than training it.
We can get deep here. Isn't all training really kind of tricking our minds to do something?
Let's explore that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm serious. This is fascinating because I would like to train my dog to be able to do.
Why isn't everybody doing this? Why nobody wants to deal with the litter box?
I have no idea. There is one. If you go kind of like deep on the internet, there is some debate about whether it's sort of a cruel thing to do to your cat. Your cat maybe has some sort of ways that it likes to sit when it's going to the bathroom, and maybe this isn't the most comfortable thing. But my apartment does not smell like litter. It's amazing.
Jody, thanks for joining us.
This is your bedroom. This is your bedroom with Blue Chew. Blue Chew uses the same active ingredients as in Viagra or Cialis, but now comes in chewable form. Chewable means better, cheaper, and works faster than pills. No in-person doctor visit, no waiting in line, no more awkwardness. 100% online at BlueChew.com, where your first order is free. Just pay $5 shipping. Use promo code DAN at BlueChew.com and restart the party.
Dan Le Batard.
Stugotz has been doing this for years because Stugotz is the roadrunner here and I'm the coyote. He'll say something right before the microphones come on, meant to get my attention, and he means it. And this time it was, I got a big problem with Jim Mora, man.
Stugotz.
He wasn't talking to me. He was just talking to his computer.
Yeah, I tend to do that.
Right before the microphones went on, he just he lobbed it out there. I don't know whether it's subliminal or he doesn't know how to do subtlety, so it just hits me in the side of the face like a fish flying from the ocean.
It's just in case you need it, man. I throw it out there. I say it right before we go on air. If you forget what we're talking about, it's just a little Jim Mora to put in your back pocket. You know, it's always there, okay? And when you need it, you go to your back pocket, you pull it out, and boom! I ripped Jim Mora.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 is now available. 30 for 30 podcast, Season 3 This season takes you deep into the complicated world of Bikram Yoga. Its founder used connections with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, John McEnroe, and other stars to spread his aggressive brand of yoga to the world. But Bikram's guru status enabled increasingly dark behavior. It's a story you have to hear to believe. Subscribe and listen right now to 30 for 30 podcast in the Listen tab of the ESPN app or on Apple Podcasts.
A texter writes in, so Dan is just a bleep hole, right?
You don't get the show.
Jody Avirgan rejoins us now on ESPN Radio. Again, 30 for 30 podcast, 5-episode series. Bikram now on the ESPN app and wherever podcasts are available. What are you laughing about, Stugotz?
Nothing.
So, all right.
That was a joke we were going to make. It seems like he does get it.
So Jody Avirgan is with us. Tell me about this podcast and why people are raving about it.
Sure. So, I mean, this is our latest season of 30 for 30 podcast, our third season. This is the first time we've done a multiple part story. So this is our whole season is 5 parts, on this world of Bikram Yoga. So we're not just going to convince your listeners to listen to one podcast. We're going to convince them to listen to a 5-part podcast about this. But look, we think that this is an incredible story. It has lots of big themes like a lot of 30 for 30s do, but it's also just a wild story about a man, Bikram Chowdhury, who came to America and built an empire. There were hundreds of thousands of people doing his yoga at its peak. He was, as you mentioned, had tons of celebrity connections. His brand of yoga was really aggressive, really athletic. It was not a spiritual practice, and so that attracted a lot of athletes, a lot of men. I know that there's a great photo of Dan Marino floating around doing Bikram Yoga. The Miami Dolphins were doing it as a team throughout much of the 80s. And Bikram Chowdhury amassed an immense amount of power and wealth, and there was this sort of cult of personality around him. And over the years, that power and that cult of personality allowed him to do some pretty awful things. And in recent years, he's been accused of sexual assault and rape. And our goal has really been to track the whole story, to talk about sort of how we got to this moment where he was able to do these awful things.
How did he get inside the world of celebrity?
He showed up in LA like a lot of people do, with a sort of drive to become famous and to make a lot of money. And he had a couple lucky breaks early on. He started opening this yoga studio, and very early on, Shirley MacLaine showed up. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was there. He called Kareem Abdul-Jabbar the worst student he's ever had. He was on the Merv Griffin show, fairly regularly. And he also had a really compelling story. He told people, he had, like a lot of people who become quickly famous, he had a great story to tell that people could latch onto, which was he grew up in Calcutta, poor, he found a guru, he invented this style of yoga, he came to the U.S. And it really was at this moment where kind of fitness was becoming a huge trend in the United States. And so he tapped into this moment where people were looking for group classes, were looking for sort of hard athletic activities to do together, and he just kind of had the right thing at the right time.
So he was quoted in a magazine saying John McEnroe couldn't walk. His whole left side was shot completely. I made him play for 6 more years. Is that true?
It's very hard with Bikram to tell what's true and what's not true. He would he would craft his own mythology, and he would really be, really over the top, and both about himself and about the people he helped. That said, we spoke to a lot of people who did this yoga who say, without sort of any sense of irony or whatever, just like, this yoga saved my life. I couldn't walk. I was injured. This yoga got me back on my feet. And a lot of athletes, found those same results as well. So that specific John McEnroe story, I don't know. I mean, Bikram Chowdhury also claimed that he cured Richard Nixon. He saved Richard Nixon from getting his leg amputated, and that's how he got a green card to come to the United States. It's hard to track down some of these things.
Okay, well, what did you track down in terms of lies, though, and misbehavior? What were you able to confirm?
So we were able to find that certainly there's this pattern of behavior on the part of Bikram Chowdhury where he amassed this power and he was able to take advantage of it, often with women. And so, there are 6 women who've come forward who've accused him of sexual assault and rape. A lot of those were in the early 2000s. He is currently out of the country right now. One of the things that we found, and I think is just sort of jaw-dropping to me, is this empire of his has certainly come crumbling down, but he is right now at this exact moment in Mexico doing what's called a teacher training, which is where he brings people in and he trains them how to be Bikram instructors, and they pay $10,000-$15,000 to do that. And he's doing it right now. So he's out there right now making money. And not only that, he's doing the thing, teacher training, which was the site of where a lot of these accusations and a lot of this bad behavior took place. And so, there's this historical element to this story, but there's just also this really galling truth of him being out there right now.
How did it go when you approached him or tried to approach him?
Well, so this is the work of our reporter, Julia Lowry Henderson. She really spent a year and a half reporting this out. She narrates this entire season, and she did go and track down, in addition to talking to tons of people who did this and his victims, she went and tracked him down in Mexico at teacher training, and in one of our episodes, she describes that encounter. I won't give it away. I want people to listen. I think it's safe to say she did not sort of get this sense of justice. This is a guy who has just sort of gone round the bend and has built this sort of cult of personality around himself and this mythos around himself, and he's not in any position to start to make amends or start to, be culpable for his actions.
Again, ESPN's 30 for 30 podcast. It's a 5-episode series. Bikram, it is now on the ESPN app wherever podcasts are available. Jody Avirgan is with us on ESPN Radio. Has anyone tried to prosecute him?
So he's been taken to court but not for these assaults. So it's a little complicated, but he was taken to court basically and sued through civil lawsuits because the LAPD did not bring criminal charges against them. He lost some lawsuits. He owes about $7 million to one person, his former assistant. He basically fled the country in the wake of that. So he's sort of mired in legal trouble right now. He can't really come back to the United States, but he's declared bankruptcy. He might be able to clear that, and he might come back to the United States. But, at some fundamental level, the legal system has not sort of provided justice for the women in this case. I think that's safe to say.
I'm a little bit confused. So he's not quite a fugitive, but kind of?
Right. I mean, he's out there. You can find him on Instagram. He's doing these teacher trainings. So in certain countries, he can go. So he's often in India. I think he's been in Australia maybe once or twice. He's in Mexico right now. If he comes to the U.S., there is a warrant for his arrest related to the civil lawsuit. And so he can't come to the U.S. until that sort of money is paid back. Or he declares bankruptcy and gets it off the books.
Sounds interesting. Thank you, sir. I hope people check it out.
Yeah. Can I just throw out that if any of you guys down there have any ideas for 30 for 30s ever, you should totally just hit us up, or we're totally game. We'd love to hear any ideas you have.
Kevin Durant took the easy path. How about that?
Happens.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jody.
All right,
I'll send you all my ideas.
At Batard Show on Twitter. What do you got, Stugotz? It's not stunning at all that you would just ask, how did he get in the world of celebrity? That would be your only question.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you're like, yeah, I got a lot of 30 for 30 ideas.
I do. A ton of them. Anyway, at Batard Show on Twitter, what's the dumber take from yesterday? Dan saying the Warriors are the best team ever, or Stugotz saying the Warriors have ruined basketball? 79% of the audience said yes. Get rid of kickoffs? 60% of the audience said no. Have you noticed that a lot of times in romantic comedies, the friend of the female lead is Asian? 51% of the audience said yes. Who looks less like Booger McFarlane, Boog Sciambi or Mina Kimes? 63% of the audience said Mina Kimes. Who had the crappier celebrity story, Dan or Guillermo? 54% of the audience said Guillermo. How?
They just hate me.
Yeah, well, maybe. When the anthem is being discussed, does Will Cain appear from a portal under the first take desk? 97% of the audience said yes. Are we going to have offsetting penalties when guys on both teams kneel for the anthem? 90% of the audience said yes.
Offsetting penalties, replay the anthem.
Should the 30-year-old son have been evicted by his parents and a judge? 84% of the audience said yes. Those are the polls.
Texter writes in here, hey, race baiter, you lose. The NFL bans anthem kneeling. I mean, it ain't my loss, man. I sit next to my dad on television every day. I don't lose anything. It's constant content for me.
There are a lot of people that are taking a victory lap right now. A lot of people that held on to their convictions and didn't watch the NFL strictly because of this. Never mind the fact that they're allowing players to just chill in the locker room if they don't want to take part.
Yeah. So they're going to watch again now? I mean,
Now that they won.
You lose, Le Batard. I mean, I can kneel right now if I want. They haven't taken away my freedom or money or jobs.
Why did you lose?
How do I lose?
Sports radio.
They gave me something to talk about on a Wednesday, and now I'm taking a sabbatical.